Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is The Forever Young Show. The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road. Well, we are here with Tiffany Larson, CEO of Days for Girls.
So good to be here.
And
thank you so much for joining us.
I'm thrilled to be here.
I was sharing this actually with a woman that we were speaking with recently, that we had this podcast coming up. And I said, hey, we have the CEO for Days for Girls coming on the show and talking about women's health. And I love the tagline, right? Creating, and I hope I get this right, creating a world where periods are never a problem.
Yep, that's it.
And I feel honored as a man to be part of this discussion because actually it isn't just a girls' discussion. It isn't a women's discussion. In order to have a healthy environment, it takes all of us, right?
Absolutely. Here.
3 million?
Call it men who know. So you can join the conversation.
I love that.
Men who know. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Men who know. Mm-hmm. And we find that huge advocates for women are men, fathers and uncles and brothers. That's a huge part of this conversation. Beautiful. And solution.
Well, it has to be that way, right? Like we families, society, it's an ecosystem. And, we made a concerted effort, probably starting, within the last 5 years for sure. And it's just increased to say, we're going to serve primarily women. Right? We are here to serve primarily women in that's why we're here on the show, our mainline business in the health and entrepreneurial world. We work with 80, I think last time you counted was closer to 90% women in the room.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I always tell guys, listen, I'm not here for you guys, but if you were smart, you would stay for the conversation, right?
I love it.
But we can't have a healthy world without healthy women. And we're not going to have a healthy environment without men who know. Right?
Yes.
That makes me think of I went on a trip to Africa this last summer.
Awesome.
And a humanitarian trip. And one of the things that we got to do in Tanzania was, and in fact, I helped present the Days for Girl kits. And also we did some other kits that looked similar, but had silicone cups in them. We had the teachers test it out. And then when I went on the trip, the teachers had said that they were really great. And so we gave that to some of the older girls. It was really neat because when we would go to these high schools and speak to these girls, we actually had a young man from Tanzania that was doing the translating. And it really hit me how comfortable he was translating, how to use the Days for Girl kits or how to use these silicone cups or anything. He's just like, yeah, okay, let's talk about this. He is such an advocate for protecting and helping girls and women. So it just kind of all hit home right now, talking about all this.
I love that. Absolutely love it. I love that you got that experience.
Yes, it was very empowering and healing for my own experience growing up and always being ashamed of, like going to the hotel and asking for feminine supplies because I didn't bring enough or I forgot some. And, the sweet woman there with her beautiful accent being like, girl, why are you being so quiet about this? There's nothing to be ashamed of. I was like, oh, okay. And so ever since then, I've been able to, talk about things. And that helped prepare me to get up in front of, these big schools and help these girls and women.
Yeah, they're part of what we're doing is shattering stigma and shame. That's a big part of what we're doing. We're providing access to products. We're doing education. We're doing advocacy work. But a core piece is shattering shame and stigma. That with the truth is that without periods, there wouldn't be people on this earth. That's the base of it. So without periods,
Boom.
well, I know, right? And that women are part of a global sisterhood of women all over the world, that we're all experiencing this. And that when there is a lot of shame and stigma around menstruation and it's not being talked about, we're going through a shared experience in isolation. And when we open up those conversations, I mean, I've been in many, many rooms where women are going through menstruation, because all women do. And then, but they're not talking about it because there is the shame and stigma. And all of a sudden, when you start those conversations, they're looking left and right going, wait, you have this happening too. I had cramps today. You're bleeding. Like, we can talk about that and support each other. And then you get the sisterhood in the community, and you have open conversations, and that leads to beautiful things always.
Absolutely.
Pause while I tweet that. Without periods, there are no people. Okay, hold on. Boom. Hashtag Tiffany Larson, DTG.
Days for girls. The founder says for girls. That's credited to Celeste Morgans. That's
okay.
2008.
One thing I want to explore, we have a massive, incredible question, and we already kind of started teasing that as we got into this. But I know that your friendship that you two have is certainly something super important. I know it's important on because I hear it, and I've heard it since we got married almost 10 years ago. And I mean, like, you're glowing, both of you. All of a sudden, we just hit the glow button. You know, it's like the glowworm from the 90s and 80s, where you just push the glowworm. You know, we just hit the glowworm button. But I want really just a short conversation from both of you. And Tiffany, let's take it from you first. Like, how you and Stephanie met, and what, the time of your life. And let's just go into a little vignette in the past, and then we'll dive into some of the other meat. But I'd like to get that perspective from both of you, because I know whenever we talk about Tiffany Larson, Stephanie goes into the glowworm phase, and I mean, even hello, like, we're getting ready for this podcast here in our home studio, and Isaac, who, our son, who's almost 18, who hasn't seen you for
years.
He thought a decade, right? He's like, I haven't seen them since I moved from Arizona. And his initial reaction is, hey, Dad, can I go talk to Tiffany before you start the podcast?
And that was the best.
Oh, good.
So take us back, Tiff. Tell it when you and Stephanie met in your life.
I'm going to start getting emotional. So Stephanie and I lived in the same neighborhood and went to the same church. And I was going through a difficult time in my life, a difficult period of my life. And Stephanie was an angel that was the right friend for me at the right time. And I adore this woman that's sitting next to you. Absolutely adore. So much wisdom, so much grace, so much. She's taught me a lot. Like, I'm going to get emotional. And we've had so many fun times, our kids playing together, and it's been amazing.
The Forever Young Show is a safe place. Emotions are allowed.
Thank you.
Preferred, promoted,
yes.
Invited. Like, if we don't laugh and cry in this show, we did something wrong.
That is true. All right. So is it my turn then? Okay. So I had moved in with my parents because I was going through a divorce, and God inspired me to reach out to Tiffany and become friends. I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. So I think I was a little like, I don't know. She has friends. She's good. But I just kept getting that prompting. And so I was like, okay, I need to do this. It's obviously a friendship from God. So yeah, we just spent time with each other. And I remember when leading up to, I think it was the final part of my divorce. I don't know if you remember this, but I started getting random things as a countdown to when I would be a single woman. And I like my whole body, I'm reacting right now, a lot of emotion. I just remember feeling so much love and support and encouragement through that very difficult time. I mean, my divorce took over a year. So I just, yeah. And after that, it was a lot of meaningful conversations, a lot of fun, a lot of spiritual experiences together, and something that I will cherish forever. I feel like it's one of those bonds that you cannot talk for a very long time, and you pick up like you were talking yesterday.
Which happened today.
It's true. It's true. I will also say that beyond that, after I think it was when I lived there, but further into our friendship, and just seeing you start doing stuff for Days for Girls was really inspiring for me. And I was just like, I want to be like her. I want to do those things. I want to help women and girls and empower them and be a blessing in their lives. And it's been really amazing to see how you've expanded that, and how the organization and all these women and girls have been blessed by you and all that you have done for them. And it kept making me like, I want to do it. I want to do more. I've got to do something. So when I did go to Africa, I was thinking about you so much. And I was just like, I'm doing what I wanted to do. I'm following in Tiffany's footsteps. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. I forgot actually all about that countdown. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that completely.
It might have been a small thing for you, but it was a huge impact for me. It was.
Sisterhood and friendship is a very special, powerful thing.
Yes, it is. Women need other women.
Yep. We're here.
All stages of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh. I got tingles. This is going to be a good conversation.
So when we started this show, this idea is, I think, over a year old, at least a year old. And now, finally into launch phases. We've been recording in the studio starting, 6 months ago. And
congratulations.
Well,
all the work, and now you're to the launch phase. That's so incredible.
Yeah, and what an honor to be with you in pre-launch. Still, we're March 8th, by the way. And everybody who's listening to this obviously is going to be after March 8th, but we're all, the three of us are looking at this from the front side. International Women's Day is March 8th. Yep. And Stephanie had this grand idea. What if we bump up our launch date, which our editors, I know, are just so happy about. And we thank the editing team. We would not be here without them. You don't create anything amazing without a team. Yep. And so to our editors, when you're listening to this, know that we love you. Thank you so much. And so because of Stephanie and all the extra work that you're doing, editors, no, just kidding. It's March 8th, International Women's Day, but this podcast, the Forever Young Show, is dedicated to women and to self-care beyond simply pampering. Although, hey, we all love a little pampering.
It's true.
And it's always in order, but even deeper than that. So anyway, thank you for being a part of that.
It's soul pampering.
Soul pampering. Ooh. Hold on, let me tweet that really quickly.
I don't even tweet.
I know. I'm like, honey, your age is showing.
About what?
Oh, no. Exactly.
What did I say?
Tweeting, yeah. I feel like, and what I've seen other younger people say, I think it's more of an older generation thing. I mean, look at Donald Trump.
I was just going to say Donald Trump tweets. Elon Musk tweets. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just never even started, so I'm just out of the loop completely.
Me too.
We haven't either. Honestly, we don't even have a Twitter account right now, although that is in the game. But I'll tell you why. Why are we doing a lot of things that we're doing in the social space, Tiffany, is because that's where people are looking. That's where the eyes are. And so, we don't necessarily want to spend more time. We want to have more quality time with our family and with each other. And we also know that the way that today it's about media, it's about communication, and let's fill the void, or let's replace what may be marginal. We're not even talking about, let's replace all the evil in the world. Let's replace what's marginal with that which is uplifting.
I love it.
So we may start tweeting all these amazing, these thoughts and amazing that are going to come from this show. But
I love it.
we made so what I got to before I started that rant 10 minutes ago, which our listeners will soon understand. Ouch. And I'm just going to say that like Stephanie's
I'm like,
pinching.
what?
Is a list of people that we wanted to invite on the show. And I'm telling you, like, Stephanie's like, we have to have Tiffany. We have to have Tiffany. So take us to that. Why is Tiffany here? Why did you feel so strongly about having her here on the show?
Well, I feel like a lot of it, I mean, you can look back on what we just said, how we talked about our friendship and how inspiring Tiffany is to me. And I know that there are so many other people that feel the same way. So I don't really know how to expand on that. I mean, just her beautiful soul, the light that she has, the love that she gives to people, just inspiring people, changing lives. Oh my goodness, changing lives all around the world. Not just her beautiful family at home, but individuals all over the world. And now I can even say, the men too, those that want to be, jump on board and help this community.
Wow.
Men who know.
Men who know. That's right.
I
was trying to think of what that one-liner was, and I'm like, oh, I forgot already.
The men.
The men. Yes, the men who know. So I just knew. I knew that she would be an incredible guest.
Wow, I feel like I'm getting poured into. I'm not. Wow. Let's do this every day.
It feels good.
I'm okay with that. We can do it every day. So, Tiffany, what are you most passionate about right now? And what are you doing about it?
That is a very good question. I am very, very, very passionate about the work that I'm doing at Days for Girls. It is something that I wake up very early in the morning to work on and stay up late working on. And I struggle. I know we're going to talk about self-care. It is good for the soul, and then the challenge because it makes me want to do so much more of it because I just feel so passionate about it. I'm very passionate about the work that I'm doing at Days for Girls. I'm very passionate about maintaining a balanced life and really honing in on the most important things, which to me right now is the work that I'm doing. It's taking care of me physically. It's taking care of my family. Those are the most important things to me right now. So I think that is what I'm most passionate about.
What is it like to juggle a prod? Like, what is it like to juggle a prod? You talked about balance, right? And balance, priorities, and focus.
Yep.
What is it like to balance that as a mother?
No.
And as a CEO? I mean, the whole organization is looking to you for direction, leadership, investment of belief, vision.
I find it very difficult to balance. It's something that I read a long time ago and I think of frequently is that in life we are juggling balls and we have a lot of them in the air. And the key is to realize, and to me personally, this is a spiritual discernment, is to realize which balls are the rubber ones and you can let drop and they bounce, and which ones are the glass ones and you need to make sure that you're catching them. And I think that those things shift in different seasons of life. But to me, I feel like that has been a critical piece. And then also just giving myself grace, that I mess up the balance a lot and I have to come back to center and come back to a grounding and a communication with God so that I can redefine what I'm needing. What are the glass balls? Because I feel like something that I've said several times is that what I didn't realize, I've been with Days for Girls for 8 years. I've been CEO now for just a little over 2 years. And what I didn't realize prior to stepping in as CEO, because my previous roles were very busy within the organization. I had a lot of responsibility. But it's the same, I feel like, as a mother, there's a weight that never goes away with your kids. There's not, it's like it's always there. And now I feel that for a whole organization as well. And, when you know and are confident the work you're doing is making a difference, it makes you just want to do it more. It's like, okay, let's lean into this. And you see the need and you're wanting to be there. It is critical. What I've learned over and over and over, I keep having to relearn, is that it is absolutely critical to take care of myself. I have to. You can kind of do it for just a very short period of time, and then you can start crashing and burning, where you're burning the candle at both ends. You're not taking care of yourself physically, nutrition, sleep, spiritually, some downtime, things like that, getting sunshine, moving your body, all the things. And, that has to be a critical thing that has to happen every day. I have this power of 7 thing that I do every day, that there's these little things that I'm like, I just got to keep these little things going so that I'm maintaining myself. So then I can pour into all the other things that I feel passionate about.
That was powerful. That was powerful. And I love, I'm such a visual person. So I love how you described the balls and some of them being rubber and letting them bounce, and the glass, that whoa, that's very impactful and very useful for me. Thank you.
This is fun.
It is fun.
It is.
It's fun. Just sitting around, talking with the girls.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my goodness.
I will say one difference being on this podcast is Seth, typically does all the talking, and I might say one little thing in here, and it's different. He's allowing me to lead out and learn and grow, and
I love it.
Coming to myself. All right. So can you give us a quick definition of what Days for Girls is?
Yes, I would love to. So Days for Girls is an international organization that is working to create a world where periods are never a problem. We are an organization that is working to eliminate period poverty globally. We do that through a combination of access to products, education, and advocacy. Those are our 3 programmatic pillars that we work on. To date, since Days for Girls began in 2008, we have reached over 3 million women and girls in 145 countries globally. We have 90 social enterprises that we focus on livelihood and business training to, and that they are it's like a franchise model, but a nonprofit franchise model where women are business owners in their communities, and that they sew and distribute the Days for Girls kits and deliver the Days for Girls programming in 30 different countries. We have a vast network of over 15,000 volunteers that are located primarily in the US, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. We have volunteers that are passionate about this issue and that show up to say menstruation matters and we're going to take care of this issue. And so they are sewing the Days for Girls kits. And then we have incredible projects that we're doing globally. We have, in the last 5 years, we've really leaned into disaster and refugee humanitarian crises. We have developed a whole infrastructure now that we are able to respond to the Ukraine crises, Morocco, Syria. We most recently got kits into Gaza. We have partnerships with organizations that have logistics and boots on the ground in crisis situations, because that is not who we are as an organization, but they are delivering the product to people in a time of crises. We found that menstruation and menstrual health needs are often overlooked as part of disaster response. And so we're here to fill that need for women as they're going through what will probably be the most difficult circumstance that they've been in their lives. Yeah, that's what Days for Girls does.
So wonderful. What a blessing to so many. And I feel like watching you do this and knowing that there's an impact, but then actually going out and helping to educate and deliver those kits to other girls just really opened up that side of me, the passion in me, wanting to go back and do more, a lot of different humanitarian, including that. That was actually one of the highlights of my trip, was going and helping and empowering these girls. it's incredible, the outreach that you've been able to extend to so many countries and so many women.
Thank you. And it's Days for Girls. We say it's the power of we. It's many of us coming together to say, this is an issue we're going to fix. And we're not just going to fix it for now. We're going to fix this generationally. This is the founder, Celeste Merkins, that started Days for Girls in 2008, said that this is an issue that we can fix. And we're seeing that happen in real time. This is a big issue. There are 500 million women globally that do not have access to what they need to manage their menstruation each month. And it's interesting that, sometimes it's like when people very first hear about what we do, they're like, why periods? Like, why is that the thing? And it's, when girls start experiencing their period and they don't have access to what they need to take care of it with dignity, with safety, with health, and then they don't have the education. If there was a lot of shame and stigma surrounding menstruation, they don't know what's happening with their body. Most of the time, anything dealing with blood, that's something is wrong with your body. And they might be experiencing physical discomfort associated with that. And so it's as if a door closes in her life, that 5 days out of every month, she doesn't have what she needs to fully engage the way that she wants to in life, whether that's attending school, whether that's women working, whether that's women being able to take care of their families, showing up in their community, whatever women are passionate about. 5 days of each month, they don't have what they need. And so Days for Girls our work is opening that door again and eliminating periods as a barrier to women and girls achieving their potential. It's amazing to me how such a small thing can create such significant results. And to me, the reason for that is because I believe in women, because it's not that we're actually creating the results. We don't need to actually empower women because they're already empowered. We're removing a barrier so that they can fully step into their strength and power and passions and interest and all the things that they're passionate about. And so when you unleash the power of women and have removed those barriers, that is what families and communities and countries need to begin to thrive. I think it's in Zimbabwe. There's a parable or something that talks about a bird. And if you have one wing that is, tied in, you can't really make the progress. It's two wings. And so Days for Girls, we've talked about it a couple of times, Men Who Know. Days for Girls is about inviting both men and women to be a part of this conversation and solution. And then saying, let's have both of the wings, because that's when communities and countries are going to make the progress that they need. Because we need both men and women to be a part of it.
Because I feel like I've been striving to be a man who knows for a while. Right? I mean, being sensitive and understanding.
Yeah.
We can clap.
Yeah. I love men who know.
In our home, it's acceptable. It's acceptable discussion. Products. For our teenagers, like it's on the tape. Like, well, the products aren't necessarily on the table, but they could be. I mean, it's not part
wherever
of
they are.
Right. Discreet yet, understanding.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think until this moment, listening to you, that I truly had just the deep understanding about how integral to the psyche of a girl. Like I often think about menstruation from a woman's standpoint because I'm married to a woman. Yeah. Let me tell you, I am married to a woman.
Yeah.
It's great. But I don't think I've really considered, and I mean, having had, 4 daughters, 2 who are adults now, and having understand that transition, I just don't think I fully understand or understood. And necessarily, how could I, having not experienced it?
Yeah.
But I guess I want to say thank you because I appreciate how important a healthy, prepared, proven plan, with education and with appropriate supplies is. I don't think I ever really fully understood that, and it's just like I'm mind blown. I mean, 500 million women. Yeah. We got 8 billion people on this planet. So cut that in half. That's 4 billion roughly women. Give or take, and we're talking about 1 out of 8
Yeah.
know,
It's about 25% of the world's
okay.
women of reproductive age.
Oh,
25.
okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. So we're talking about 1 out of 4, 25% of all women. Uh,
Wow.
and then you think about how that impacts, again, mental, emotional resilience
Yep.
and social integration and, that feeling about, who am I, oh my goodness. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had never even thought about, I mean, and I am a woman and I have had, a taste of going and helping other women and seeing how much they lack. And, just how you were saying how, like, when you bring these women and girls together and they sit and you start talking about these things that typically they don't talk about and realizing, oh, wait, you have cramps too, or, oh my goodness, you bloat too. Or like, I like never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with all sisters. And so we would always talk amongst ourselves. Yeah, that totally opens my mind to a whole nother perspective of limitations,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and depending on where you're at in the world, so we have one of our offices is based in Nepal. And in Nepal, there's a practice called chapati that is a cultural practice, long-standing cultural practice that menstruation is considered impure and that women and girls that stay with their family while they're menstruating would curse their family and cause ill will and ill fortune to fall to their family. And so they actually have menstrual huts where they are sometimes I've seen a lot of different versions of them. Sometimes they're kind of a crawl space under the house. Sometimes they're a cow shed, kind of like an elevated platform, kind of looks like a very large, like bird feeder almost, but it's big enough for a person to be in it. And so women are away from their families for the duration of their period. New moms are in them for 21 days following childbirth. And that's one of the things. So when we talk about one of the core parts of what we do is that we are locally led. So all of the offices that we have are completely staffed and led by people from the countries where we are working in. And that's actually a key strength to what we do because the people in those countries are the experts. They know what, both what the issues are and then the unique cultural navigation that you have to do to approach that. And so we have this phenomenal team in Nepal that they take Days for Girls kits and they take the Days for Girls education, but it's tweaked. And they are addressing the issue of chapati and they are doing it in a way that's culturally sensitive. They work in communities. They bring in the tribal leaders first. They get in the buy-in from the community leaders. And then they go through it in a certain way that leads to long-lasting change. And I've seen pictures of girls themselves tearing down menstrual huts themselves with their own bare hands, the rocks and things, pulling them down. And, this is just such it's so, when you're in a position where you can run down to the store and pick up a box of tampons, you can kind of relate because it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I ran out or something, but there's all these layers in different cultures that, are, when we're saying that menstruation is a barrier, it's a barrier. And so we're removing that through that combination of access to products and education and, creating that long lasting change in communities. That's a very nuanced issue, but one that we can totally tackle. Like this is fixable in our lifetimes. It really, really, really is.
That made me very emotional. Just imagining those girls that are able to tear down those huts or wherever they were sent to. Like, whoa,
Right?
whoa,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, yeah. Talk
Yeah.
about generational change. That's
Mhm.
absolutely wow.
Thank you for sharing a vision. And
Mm.
that is directly applicable. You don't have to be in Nepal to administer that type of healing and reestablishment of boundaries, reestablishment of
Ooh, I
your
like that.
self actualization,
Mhm.
perceived self worth.
Mm.
Tearing
Yeah.
down those social constructs, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it hit home for me just because going through my own personal traumas in life and really
Mhm.
doing that, it's obviously different, but kind of, I don't know. I just really could relate to that, tearing
Yeah.
that down and being able to rebuild yourself. in such a healthy way.
Yeah. I love that.
So take us 8 years. You're currently the CEO
Yes.
of this incredible organization, but you weren't always the CEO. Can you take us through the Tiffany Larson, the Days for Girls greenie, right? And what that process was like? Because I mean, Stephanie's always known you have always been amazing. You are amazing. You also grown. Like this has been an 8 years of growth. What has that been like, and what are some of the challenges you've had?
It's a really good question. And I have been in a high growth zone for the last 8 years, for sure. So I have always known that I am passionate about international development work. I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in that in college. That's just something that I am just really passionate about. I got involved with another organization after my youngest son went to school. I got involved with another organization. The first time that I heard about Days for Girls was in India. We were working in the leprosy colonies in India and helping with some project implementation there with another organization. And I ran into a Days for Girls volunteer there. I said, wait, what are you doing? And I started asking a lot of questions, and it had never occurred to me. And I found this same version of a story so many times because people are like, wait, how did I never think about menstruation? How did I never occur to me to ask that question? I had my own experience just like that. And I ended up over the course of a couple years hearing about Days for Girls in multiple different spots. And then in 2016, I ended up, I was in Peru and I heard about Days for Girls again. And I felt compelled in the deepest part of me to look up Days for Girls and learn more about what they were doing, and got on their website. And I didn't sew. I didn't know what I could do to help, but I reached out. I sent a volunteer application in to say, I'm happy to help with something, but what could I help with? And I ended up getting a call from the then CEO about 2 days later. Had a 2-hour conversation with her on the phone. She was doing a training up in Utah that following weekend, so several days. And she said, how far is it for you to get to Utah? And I was like, it's fine. I'm flying up. I'll come. So I came, and at the conclusion of that training, I started a 5-hour week volunteer position with the organization. That ended up fairly quickly leading into doing a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. About 4 months after I started that position, the person that was the director of all of our volunteer programs, that's 15,000 volunteers, she went on maternity leave, and they asked for me to step in to do her role for the 6 weeks that she was on maternity leave. And I felt very inadequate. I was definitely thrown into the deep end of the pool. But I was in a high growth zone. So then you just grow. So I did that, and she ended up coming back, but deciding that she didn't really want to return to work. She wanted to stay home with her new baby, and she's a brand new mom. And so they asked for me to step into that role. And I've learned a lot about myself over the time of working with the organization. I am a systems person. I didn't even know that I was a systems person, but I'm an efficiency and a systems person. And I have learned that there is a lot of transferable skills for a lot of different areas of life, whether that's motherhood or volunteer work or whatever else, that there's so many transferable skills to a workplace setting. And I stepped into the role of overseeing the volunteer area of the organization at a time where we were growing exponentially. And so I ended up redoing all of the systems, kind of restructuring the entire thing. And I'd have to go back and look exactly, but around 1.5 years after that, they asked for me to step in as the chief operating officer of the organization. It was around that time that I kind of had gone up fast enough that all of a sudden I was like, wait, everybody that I worked with had master's degrees. Everybody had, an amazing career in the nonprofit sector. And here I am 2 years into working at Days for Girls, don't have a master's degree. And I had to get a special interview with the board of directors to say, is this okay? There was a lot of pushback from other people saying, wait, is this really the right decision? Once people got the chance to work with me, they quickly were like, okay, yeah, this works. But
this girl's got game.
They fell in love with the Tiffany that I know.
And so that's been my journey within the organization. I have held the role of chief programs officer, chief operating officer, and then at the end of 2021, when Celeste was making the decision to step back from into the founder role and out of the day-to-day CEO role, the board of directors asked for me to first step in as interim CEO. So from November to April, so November 2021 through April 2022, I was interim CEO. And then they ended up extending the invitation for me to be the permanent CEO. And, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. And I've learned, honestly, one of my biggest takeaways is to have confidence in myself. I am in the process of getting my master's degree. I'll be done at the end of this year. And it's been interesting how many different classes I've taken where my key takeaway was, I already knew that.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
But I feel like I have a broader, like, you never know what you don't know till and so I would come away going, okay, yeah, maybe there's a few areas I could work on, but like my gut, my first impulse was actually the right one. And I didn't even know why or how. It was just the way that I looked at it. And I am a huge advocate for women and reentering the workforce after a gap, in, staying home with kids or for whatever life reason that they have. And seeing that when people might not be on paper the most traditional candidate for something, that there's so many transferable skills. I think that life teaches people a lot of different lessons, and you can learn lessons in all different ways. And I think that oftentimes the people with the most unique paths through life end up having the most creative solutions to problems and the most unique approaches to things. And that's often what you need. That's where I am. And I am absolutely loving the opportunity to dive in further. I mean, I've been diving in for 8 years, but I am so passionate about the work that we're doing. I also had an opportunity to go to Tanzania several years ago. I can't remember how many years ago it was. But there was an experience that I had there that kind of forms the foundation for how I approach the work that I'm doing. And we were able to go, I was working with some local leaders there, and we went to a school and were able to distribute Days for Girls kits and the education to a group in a school, which is absolutely amazing. But to me, the most significant part was that the next day we ended up getting to go on to speak with their mothers. And the community was, kind of getting things organized. And they said that there was another thing happening in an adjoining community. And they said there probably is not going to be very many people there, maybe only like 20, maybe. And so, but we brought everything we had, and we showed up at a church the next day, and there was 150 women that had gathered together for this event. And the education was taught by a local leader, and I felt privileged that I got to be a part of it. But the part that was really impact and has stayed with me to this day was that the women gathered around afterwards. And in Tanzania, I don't know if you experienced this, Stephanie, but they jump up and down, and there's like a trilling with their tongue. It's like it's an excitement. And they were doing that and just jumping up and down and making that beautiful sound. And they said, "Thank you so much for coming. Now we can be proud to be women." And that has forever stayed with me, because we're not delivering menstrual health products. We're not delivering menstrual health education. We are letting women, we are removing barriers so that women can be proud to show up as women every day of the month. And this world needs our women. And I'm grateful to be a part of this, and grateful to be able to lean in with the skills and talents that I have to make this a more efficient process, to make the organization is best positioned to tackle this issue globally. So That's how I got to where I am.
And that closes this case study for how to impact the world as a woman CEO. For all of you men taking the course, please re-listen to this. Wow.
One question that I have that I didn't even think about is how did the pandemic affect the work that you were doing?
So significantly, as it affected everything. Yeah. But honestly, it underscored something that we had already been doing, but we needed to lean even more into it. So we have always been about local leadership. We've always been about things being produced locally, led locally. And we saw how important that was, because as country boundary lines shut down, all of a sudden we had in all of these different countries, local leaders that were still rallying the troops, and they were getting it done. They were going door to door within their community. We had supply chain in place in these different countries, and the work was continuing. And so that's actually one of the key parts of what we're doing is we're about sustainable international development. Augmented, we have, emergency and disaster response, but this is not necessarily foreigners coming in and doing things. This is creating a structure around local leadership that this can continue for generations to come. And so, that was a beautiful part. It was like the border shut down and we're like, we're still going.
We're good. We're good. We've got this.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful.
And we pivoted. We had a Masks for Millions campaign, and we were also, because we had supply chain, we had seamstresses already in place. So we were selling masks from the very beginning. We pivoted quickly for that.
That seriously was like a whole class. Okay. That was, we just got to see a master's thesis, and like sit there. And I'm serious. I'm not just John, Tiffany. That was amazing. We, in our mainline work in the entrepreneurial world, we've founded, a team, an organization called CEO, creating entrepreneurs online. And again, we work with women. So it's dubbed CEO Women. And, women who, our target audience is, I would say accomplished women. And accomplished women can mean many things. Now, you talked about these transferable skills and being in like you a mother, you in a high growth zone. Like,
right? There's a lot of high growth zones in life.
Exactly. From before that time, that baby even comes into your arms. Listen, you are in a high growth zone.
Yeah.
And so I just love this. Inside of me, I'm just wanting to transfer again. This class, this master class that you just gave. That women, listen, you raised a family. You're raising a family. You've got transfer. You are absolutely qualified to be a CEO woman, right? To be the CEO in your own house, start your own online business, right? Lead people, right? Yeah. So I think that's just beautiful, magical.
So we were pouring into you at the beginning, and now I feel like you're pouring into us and making us better people.
Well, with the transferable skills, it really, if you talk about, like navigating issues between people as a mom, yes, all day, every day. There's just, it's limitless numbers of things. And just who you are, the maturity that you have in navigating life, which can look like many different things. I firmly believe that one thing prepares you for the next thing. I've seen that in my own life multiple times, limitless times, that, you're in a high growth zone, learning something that then needs to be applied for the next step. And you're like, oh yeah, that needed, or maybe it's a couple steps from then. Women have a lot to offer. So much.
Amen. Hallelujah. I believe. I will say this, Tiffany, I really appreciated this in your leadership style. One of my favorite books on business, Good to Great. They talk about the roles of CEOs and companies and how companies can go from being good or mediocre and outperform companies that have the same resources, right? And one of the things, obviously, is leadership. And again, our message is, I'm not talking to, we don't primarily work with CEO women who are at the top of an organization. We're working with women who want to take the CEO role in their lives and start something. And you know, you sitting in this incredible position of opportunity to serve, because that's what authority is. It's the opportunity and the accepted obligation that you are going to be the biggest servant in the entire organization, right?
Yep.
Just like Jesus said in the Bible, I came not to be served, but to serve, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this book, one of these CEOs talks about, he has this quote, which I just love. He said, I never stopped striving to be qualified for the position. And I just that emanates that confident humility,
Yes.
right? So
Thank
thank you.
And that's a very good book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love
yes,
that.
I need to read it. So how can women become more financially literate and confident in managing their money?
I feel like the financial lessons that I learned, where I'm at in life, I feel like they have come from childhood. My dad was in finance growing up, and finance was a very frequent conversation in our home around the dinner table. From very early on, I got an allowance. I think the first allowance I got was like 15 cents a week or something like that. And I saved up to buy a box of crayons when I was 6 years old. And it took me a little while to be able to do that. My parents talked a lot about budgeting and about being frugal and how best to use financial resources. And I've been very, very grateful that as the budgets that I'm looking at are expanding and expanding and expanding, it's the same principles of, looking at the amount of resources you have, taking a frank look. It's just decisions. Are we going to spend it on this, or are we going to spend it on this? And, how much are we going to save, and how much are we going to invest, and things of that nature. I am so grateful. I've thought many, many, many times at how grateful I am to have grown up in a space like that. I even as a teenager, probably starting around 12 years old, I got a clothing account from my parents, which I think I got like $10 a month into, but I never just got anything bought from my parents. I mean, we had basic things, taking care of food, and there was shampoo in the shower and things like that. But anything that I just wanted, there was opportunities to work, and there was then decisions put into my court that has proved invaluable for me. So I feel like how to increase financial literacy, I'm trying to remember exactly what the question was that you asked, but I feel like it's increasing financial conversations, listening to podcasts on financial matters, reading books, engaging with our budget each month, and taking a look at what was spent and what categories those are spent in, and then just kind of working from there. I think what's a quote that I think of often is good information leads to good inspiration. And I feel like it applies to many areas of life, but I think it applies to finances as well. If you're not looking at your finances or aware, then you don't get the inspiration for how to take things from where it's at to where you're wanting it to go. But as you gather information and engage in, this is what I spent this last month, then you can say, okay, I need to pull back in this area. I want to, do this instead. Things can be more intentional. They can be more planned, and which is incredible. Choices in life are amazing. And even when we don't feel that we have choices, when things are so tight, there are always choices there. They always are choices there.
You've been all around the world. We work with thousands of women around the world entrepreneurially. Mm-hmm. So talking about women's finances is something near and dear to our heart. Obviously, both of us having been single parents, Stephanie and myself, understand the limitations that can affect single parents, single women, single mothers,
and families in general.
And families in general. I mean, the rise in, and we have a global audience for this show because our mainline business is global. But so there's this whole global perspective I think we have to have on women and women's finance and education. Sorry, I keep on hitting you over
You're
here.
fine.
but even in developed countries as well, we see the rate of women coming into the workforce, many by choice, love that. Many, and because seems to be the role of women or the work of women in life, fixing the problems, women coming into the workforce by necessity. You've traveled this world, and you're helping women from a franchising model. What are your thoughts about women's contribution in the next generation here to the financial fabric of the family?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I will say that what I see is that it's a really critical piece. Women need to be in a position to have positioned themselves to take action and to help with their family's finances in whatever way, whether that's an assistance or completely just taking it on. Something that Days for Girls we interact with a lot is the decision making for finances. And many of the countries where we work in traditionally is held by men. And so women having entrepreneurial activities allows them to start having some decision making or contributing to the financial decisions of their family. And what we see is that families are very positively impacted by women being a part of those financial decisions. So I think it's very, very important for women to gather the skills around them, whether those are vocational and technical skills, whether those are, education in general, whatever it is, to be able to have skill sets that they can bring in to contribute financially. Absolutely.
So, what would you say are some of the sweetest rewards from your work in Days for Girls?
Oh, that's a good question. I think one of the sweetest rewards is hope. I think that the world can be a very dark and scary place, that there's a lot, if you just sit and watch the news, there's so much negative happening. And from where I sit, I am looking at an issue, menstrual health, period poverty, and I am seeing thousands of people rallying to a cause to help, and that there's something tangible and specific to do, and they're doing it. I feel privileged to get a front row seat to the good that is in the world and Days for Girls is very intentionally neutral in that we are not anyone political, anyone religious or non-religious. We are not one anything. We are, if you care about women and menstruation, come, let's unite in this common passion, and then we're going to take it on together. And so there's unifying, and there is action, and there is progress, and it is humbling to see the amount of hours that are dedicated for things beyond one that people of themselves to help others and to create a world where periods are no longer holding women and girls back. I feel like that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Well, I could see why. Sometimes in life, we've got young kids as well as older kids and grandkids. We've got the whole mixture.
Yeah.
And I just love the outlook of hope. That's what you're providing and what you're helping to give to others. And, it's such a positive thing that is so impactful to so many people.
It's really special. It is really, really special to be a part of it. And to see, and I would say also just seeing story after story after story of volunteers that lives are impacted, social entrepreneurs that are part of our network, their lives being impacted, women and girls that are recipients of their programming, how their lives are impacted. There's just so much good and so much progress. And it's really special.
Definitely. And the whole aspect of it carrying on for generations too,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, having those tribal leaders or the community learning and growing together. It's not just the girls and women.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful community.
Yeah. And that's what one with our social enterprise program, that's what we talk about, doubling and tripling your impact, because, where Days for Girls began as a grassroots volunteer movement. And then over time, we started the social enterprise program where we teach business and livelihood skills to women. Here's how to create the business plan. Here's the sewing skills. We get them licensed to do the Days for Girls kit and provide the education. And then they have their own business. And so, rather than people creating something, for example, in the United States and putting it in a duffel bag and paying for a plane ticket and paying for the extra luggage fees to bring it over, that people can choose to sponsor kits. And then you're not just impacting that last woman's life or that girl's life that's receiving it.
Yeah.
You're stimulating the local economy, helping with the supply chain there. You're, employing women. Like, there's all these ripple effects that is creating multiple layers of change in a community, which is really, really incredible.
So how can our listeners help in the work that you're doing?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Get
involved.
Right? It's fun. There's a lot of ways to get involved. We have over 15,000 volunteers. So you can go to the Days for Girls website. I would say first, just go to the Days for Girls website. There's a lot of great information on there. There is a map. You can find a local chapter or team near you. We also have university clubs that you could choose to get involved with. We have an advocacy pillar of what we do. And so you can get involved as an advocacy volunteer. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. We frequently have volunteer opportunities of other ways, like we'll be looking for a graphic designer or somebody else, social media intern, something like we'll have different opportunities that you can get involved with. The founder of Days for Girls, Celeste Morgan, she recently put out a book, The Power of Days. So that's on Amazon. It came out in October. It was a bestseller on Amazon. So you could get that book and hear the whole story of how Days for Girls began. It's one that'll keep you up at night because you can't put it down. It's a really, really good book. We are always looking for partners and donations to support our work. It takes around $10 to $15 for us to reach a girl. And so, we're looking for corporate sponsors. We're looking for, all different sorts of partners. We find that we're trying to, multiply our efforts. And so we are actively looking always for different partnerships with different companies or foundations or different organizations that are already doing work in other countries or different things like that. So we're looking for that. Individuals that are interested in supporting this work. We are very careful with funding and always looking for funding to multiply our efforts. So those are just a couple of the ways.
Daysforgirls.org, correct?
Correct. Daysforgirls.org. Yep.
And you're on Instagram?
Instagram, Facebook. I think we're on Twitter.
I took a little heat for that.
I was actually going to ask.
I didn't know how to do it. No, we use social media at Days for Girls too, for sure. Yeah, you can sign up for our newsletter. We have a monthly newsletter. There's lots of ways to get involved.
Oh, wonderful.
It's been amazing.
It has.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like a new woman, honestly, like just so much good information shared that it's made an impact on me. Honestly, it really has. And I even feel like in some ways it's boosted my confidence in some areas that really needed some help. So I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Wow. That was already inside of you. I'm glad that something I said sparked it.
For drawing that out.
Well, you two started glowing. I feel like I'm a glowworm now too.
Yes,
like I feel I got it. But what a privilege to be with you two powerful, incredibly powerful and bright and shining women. Huzzah.
I like it.
And I will say, I did not get to experience what you did in Tanzania with the excitement noise and jumping and all that. And so now I'm like, Gosh dang it. I got to go back and find that. I want to experience that. That sounds so good.
I did have a video. I'll send you a video.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah.
We did go to a orphanage for mostly babies and Nema Village. Absolutely incredible location. They have the best view ever. But we got to spend some time with the babies, and then they also had a few older children that were at school, and it was an amazing experience. They sang for us. I kept crying. It was very touching. But then after that, we got to go over to the area where midwives or other labor and delivery nurses or doctors will come and help train how to help women through childbirth. After we did that, there was a big group of women who were staying there, helping with some transitional type stuff, some aftercare stuff. And I cannot remember exactly what happened, but I think one of them started to kind of, sing or do some music. And so I started like tapping to it and dance. I mean, that's just what I do, right?
You dance. That's what I love it.
It's very natural for me. So then all the women were like, oh, yeah, okay. And then they all started like getting in on it. And then the other women and all the volunteers that were with me, we all, like, I shouldn't say all of us, but most of us were like, okay, yeah, let's dance. And, just really had that great connection with the women. And so I'm like, okay, I need a taste of that other joy that you got to experience.
I'll send you the link.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So that kind of officially wraps up. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll probably edit a few things in the middle, but we want to ask you what we call the mashup questions.
Okay.
Which just kind of a quick answer. It's kind of like The Price is Right, or well, not The Price is Right, or imagine me as Steve Harvey, right? Just asking kind of a thing.
When it comes to your health, what is your biggest strength?
I think that my biggest strength is movement. I love to get outside in the sunshine, whether that's a walk or a jog or something like that, hike, paddleboarding. That's my favorite. So it's a hobby and being active. So I would say being active is my biggest strength.
Awesome. So important.
Okay. I just want to bring something up. That makes me think of when you did the Ragnar race.
Oh, yeah.
The Runaway Bride.
Oh, yes.
She bought a wedding dress. And I came over and I helped her like cut it so that it was runnable. So she ran in this dress, then with a visor that said bride in big letters with a veil coming off the back.
You did Ragnar in a wedding dress?
I told you she's incredible.
Crazy.
We had hemmed the front so it went to the knee, and I had these long pink striped socks and the tennis shoes.
Right.
And then it went down in the back, and yeah. I didn't do my race in the middle of the night in that because I was cold. But the rest of it I did.
Well, all I have to say is you looked incredible. I loved it when you guys posted photos, and I was like, yeah.
That was fun. And if you can move and have fun at the same time, that's always a good thing.
Right? Totally. I'm on board. Fun is my middle name.
Yeah, Miss Yellow Personality over there.
Did you say Little Miss Personality?
No, I said Miss Yellow Personality.
Miss Yellow Personality.
That's right.
No question. No question. Speaking of which, Tiffany, if we were going to talk, color code with you, like what, what is her color? Do you know?
Wow, you really put me on
I know,
the spot.
like she's always like, let's rehearse. I'm like, yeah, I love rehearsing, and I'm like, let me just throw this at you.
It's usually I'm like, I won't even do something if you don't.
I know.
I know. Like that's just where I'm at right now. I'm growing, and we'll see how I do later in life. But that's where I'm at.
Do you know Tiffany's color?
I want to say yellow, but I don't know.
Yellow. I think you bring out more yellow in me. I think that's probably why. I don't know. I've never had anyone say that to me, but it's because not yellows are talking to me.
Okay, then I want to say blue.
I'm a blue.
Okay.
I'm a blue red, like a little bit of red. So
that's why you can be a CEO get things done.
Right? Like you pull more depending on the role that you have.
Totally. My next guess was going to be red because I have seen a lot of really great things that I'm like, oh, that's a red move there, But I'm
I
like,
lead
no.
from a place of emotion. Like I'm very like emotionally, that's where I'm leading from, is a place of connecting emotionally. Like it's a foundation of where are we at emotionally. Now let's get things done based on that.
People are usually offended when I say that they're a blue, though. So that's why I was like, well,
I'll own that.
Gotta make sure.
I'm not sitting over in a corner crying emotional. I am like, hey, let's be emotionally intelligent and connect and
totally. I would like to say that you're a healthy emotional.
Oh, there we go.
You're a healthy blue. Honestly, and I hope a lot of people don't take offense to this, but I think in my life I've had relationships or friendships and experiences with a lot of people who are either are blue red or red blue, but they typically were not healthy. And so I've had a lot of not so pleasant experiences with people with that combination. And so it just hit me right now when you said yes and then you're red. I'm like, wow, you're like the pillar of a blue red. Like you are a really healthy version of a blue red.
Not always.
Well,
of course not.
Thank you, though.
Nobody is always, right? Nobody is, but really.
Thank you. I have discovered that one of my core leadership strengths is my emotional intelligence. That's where I lead from. And I took a leadership class. I'm doing my graduate degree, and I was able to fly out to Boston. We have in-person weekends as a part of it. And so I was taking a leadership class. We went out. One of my main takeaways from that, they had us put on sticky notes, 3 sticky notes, what like our core favorite qualities were, the ones that we most admires from leaders that we most admired. And then they had like 3 different spots on the wall that we would go and place our sticky notes under. And one of them was, I think, technical skills. And then there's 2 that were kind of more technical. And then the other one was emotional. And like 99% of the class's sticky notes ended up being into this emotional category. Like that's what you end up really resonating with and connecting with leaders. And one of my key takeaways from that class was my emotional intelligence is a huge transferable skill that has allowed me to be the leader that I am and that I'm, improving on. And
I've had a lot of people say different things about at least being younger, maybe a little bit into young adulthood, about how emotional I was or how I would cry all the time or just a lot of negativity around it. And so that's still something I'm working on, to be honest, is not when somebody says you're tender, or you have a tender heart, or a lot of times it comes from love and endearment now, whereas before I heard it so many times in not a great way. So I have to ask myself, okay, who is this person? What are they really trying to convey to me? Because I can take it negatively, because that's kind of what my core belief has been for so long. But I feel like I'm coming into it, and I love how, you word it, just the emotional intelligence, and it really is a strength. It really is a gift. And I feel like that's a huge one for me too. And, maybe that's why you and I connected so well.
Yeah, there you go.
When it comes to self-care for your health, what is your biggest weakness right now?
Balance. It's making sure to do all the little things, take my vitamins, get enough sleep, get sunshine every day, like all the things that need to happen. It's very easy for me to let my passions get the best of me and my to-do list and the things that I'm working on and not attend to those. I follow a lot of marathon runners on Instagram, and they just recently had the Olympic trials, the US Olympic trials a couple weeks ago. And there's 2 runners from my alma mater that qualified as the top 2 men to run the Olympics. Anyway, I was listening to a podcast from him the other day, and he referred to it as the mundanity of excellence, that there's so many mundane things that are a part of excellence. It's like there's the, and that was Clayton Young that said that. He's a BYU graduate. But, there's, how many, nutrition and how many dishes do you have to do and how many, when you're running all these miles, the laundry that you have to do. And like, there's mile after mile and, all these things that can be very mundane, but it's the mundanity of excellence. And I was like, oh, there's mundane things you have to do that aren't exciting, that are building block of excellence.
Yeah, my yellow personality, that's totally my weakness. I'm like, if it's not fun, I'm not going to be drawn towards it. Speaking of fun, what is your favorite dessert?
Oh, oh, that is a very good question.
I love it.
There's so many good ones to choose from. I'm going to go with a really good cheesecake.
Oh, yes. That's mine too. Cheesecake and chocolate.
Always chocolate.
Yes. Remember when we went to Cheesecake Factory?
Yes,
I half do.
Off. Okay, impromptu question. Yep. From our own experiences. You go to your favorite restaurant, favorite restaurant with a menu. Like, okay, right. Okay. So you open a menu. Where do your eyes go to? Like, is it protein? Is it salad? Is it dessert?
Salad.
Okay. He's asking that because he always goes to protein and I always go to dessert. And he loves bringing that up. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, well, I already know you're going to take care of the protein for us. So I'm going to dessert. I want to see if it's worth it to eat as much, of the protein.
We sit down and I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm so excited. And Steph gets hungry.
I get hangry.
Oh, she gets hangry, right?
Girls got needs.
Exactly.
Oh man, she talked to you about you're the pillar of a blue red. She is the pillar of hangryism, right? It's like Mama Bear, right? And she doesn't even need a little kid bear around that. He's right. And so, like naturally, you would think, let's open up the menu and let's satiate that hunger. And so I'm looking, okay, is it steak? Is it big steak? Is it bigger steak? Are we doing some sort of chicken dish? Are we doing fish? Like what, where, like, I like protein. I live, hey, I'm O positive blood type. I love that,
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, let's get this ordered. Let's do this. And I'm also open to salads and we eat great salads. And I said, okay, you ready? I'm thinking this. And I look over, should we do the cheesecake or we should do the brownie? I'm like,
it's not every time, but it is not. But when I do, like, even if I'm super hungry, a lot of times when I get hangry, I'm like, I'm past the point of like trying to pick one thing out of like a dozen or more. So, and to be fair, the other thing is that we almost always split whatever we get, so that we can try more things, right?
Get two things, split them both.
Yeah. So like
other things.
Yeah. And he typically knows what he wants. And and I'm usually more of the, oh, okay, yeah, I could get that too. I'll get one thing that I really want. And, as long as I've got one, then I'm usually good, and if not, then I voice it. And so usually he'll, pick stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, those are good. Okay. All right. And then, like, I also want to see, because I'm also very selective on what I will eat for dessert. So I want to see how much of a salad or how much of a steak or whatever we're getting I'm going to eat, because I also don't eat as much as he does. So like I've got to balance it out, right?
She's doing it right. She's doing it very calculated. She's doing very calculated. All right.
What is your favorite thing to read?
Honestly, business books. Oh, sorry. I have a whole stack over there.
No shame in that. We've got to have people that love to do that.
That's why when Stephanie said, I got to read that, I guess I got to read that book, Good to Great. And I'm thinking, honey, just read what you're reading because that's what you need. You won't enjoy it. Like you will not get 10 pages into that and think, like if you made a decision to do it, you would finish it, but it would be a complete waste of your, you wouldn't. You wouldn't even do it because you're like, this is pointless. Let's actually get back to something that I can really, that's going to make a difference.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
That's my
I don't know. I would promote that book to any. I think that's a really good book. But knowing that I mostly like business books, that's into context.
Yeah.
2 or 3 recommendations, business book.
The Culture Map if you work in international business, 100%, that was a life changing, I can't say it in all capital letters more. Culture map, Good to Great. Oh my goodness, what is that one called? I can't see it. I can't remember. There's a book about teams that's super popular that I can't recall the name of. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Oh, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Oh,
really good.
So good.
And it's in story format. So it's like a parable.
Even better. What about The Power of Habit?
Love it.
4 Disciplines of Execution.
I haven't read that one. I'm going to have to add that to my list.
You will love that book.
Atomic Habits?
Absolute love it.
Yes.
Yeah. 4 Disciplines of Execution. Covey. Covey Leadership. It's actually truly amazing.
What is it? 4
Disciplines of Execution.
Okay.
And so, we start talking in this language of called 4DX. Let's look at this from a 4DX standpoint. From a social organizational leadership standpoint, I think you'll love it. We would love to hear what you think about it.
Ooh, I would love that. Have you guys read Culture Map?
No.
If you guys do international work, you look at culture, but in a bunch of different power, communication, giving feedback. It gives it in all these different categories, and then they map out different cultures and how that all works. We've done tons of training within our organization. As soon as I read it, I was like, we have to, this is life changing.
That's awesome. I'm sad to say, I don't think I've read one book that either one of you have listed.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
That's okay. It doesn't.
It's okay.
You do you, babe, and you do you really, really well.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh, I'm gonna say The Blind Side.
I have watched that.
That's a hard one to just pull down to one, but that's just what came to my mind.
If you were to give some advice to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell that girl?
That she has what it takes. Be confident and do the thing.
So last thing we'll end with, one thing that we absolutely love, has impacted our lives, and it's part of the fabric of our souls is that self-identity, right? Mm-hmm. And understanding, some people call them affirmations, right? I am statements, Stephanie just trained on this in an international tour in 6 cities in Japan and Thailand, and just rocked it.
And Texas.
And Texas. And Puerto Rico. And really just touched women. So my question to you is, if you were to write these 10 most important I am statements, which one or two have been most impactful in your own personal life? So for Tiffany, which are the 2 that she needed to hear the most, or which have been most impactful in your own personal life? 1 or 2?
That's a good question.
And we didn't even prep you for this. Again, this is mashup. You didn't have time. This is the extra bonus round.
I like a bonus round. I feel like, honestly, the one that, because I use affirmations regularly, I feel like I have received tutoring and trained for the things that I'm going through and embarking on for generations of time. And I am ready for what is in front of me.
Chills.
Didn't see that coming.
Sorry. That was a real answer.
No.
That was incredible, Tiffany.
In your work with women
mm-hmm.
and young women around the world, is there an I am statement that you feel resonates, that those women need? Like that, this is a missing piece of that spiritual soul DNA that women need right now?
I feel like women need to be connected to their bodies. And when there's disconnect between them and their bodies, when there's shame and stigma between them and their bodies, and that they can't be fully accepting of who their body is and what their body is, that is a disconnect that causes a lot of other things to happen. So I feel like the statement that I see light bulbs going off for women and girls is that having a period is a healthy part of who you are. And you are part of a global sisterhood of women all around the world that has a period, and that without periods, there would not be people. And when you see a click happening and that's seeping into who they are, it's owning something that has been a bad part of who they are. And it's now, and they're feeling it inside of themselves. And then some beautiful magic starts to happen.
I feel like that's kind of the journey I've been on for myself, because a period wasn't, I mean, it wasn't like a horrible thing, but it was kind of looked down upon in some ways. Just the way some people had talked to me. And so that's why I was always quiet. You know, here I am in my mid 30s or whatever, going and asking a woman at the hotel front desk for supplies, and I have to whisper it because I feel shame, you know, that I'm a woman and that I have a period and that I have needs, right? Which,
Yeah.
like, now that I say it and I've been on this journey, I'm like, man, that's so ridiculous, you know? But, you know, I can totally relate to all of that. Really, that piece of me. And I think that's something that happened to me when I was in Tanzania, and that I was able to present to these girls. And I feel like what you just described happened inside of myself. And I think that's one reason why it was such a big impact on my trip, was because of that experience.
It's beautiful.
And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.